The Americans were offering rewards of $5,000 per head, so that many people were actually handed over in this way. I was held there for a couple of weeks. On the first occasion, the British intelligence were present, and then we were just held as literally, and I don't exaggerate with the term when I say this, as literally as animals in pens, until I was moved to another facility, which was Bagram, the US Air Base, where they had a detention center specifically for harsh types of interrogation. But even worse than that, to have the sounds of a woman screaming next door, which at that point, because I was unaware of what had happened to my wife, I believed it was my wife screaming next door.
And how long were you in Bagram for?
Approximately 10 months, after which I was moved to Guantanamo Bay.
How long were you in Guantanamo for?
I think it was a total of about 2 years.
Is there a gradual process of getting information out? Tell me, what's your task?
Vivian, we really can't get into interrogation issues. That's just not something that we discuss.
When the interrogators come along, how long do they take men away from, and how often does that happen?
Well, it depends on how long.
That's not quite. Anything dealing with interrogations, we can't discuss.
I see.
So where was the British Prime Minister while Mozam was being tortured by the United States military?
Good afternoon. Tony Blair is a leader of conviction, of passion, of moral clarity, and eloquence. He is a true friend of the American people. The United Kingdom has produced some of the world's most distinguished statesmen, and I'm proud to be standing with one of them today.
I would like to pay tribute to your leadership in these difficult times, because ever since September the 11th, the task of leadership has been an arduous one. And I believe that you have fulfilled it with tremendous conviction, determination, and courage.
Thank you, sir.
What happens now in Guantanamo Bay to the people detained there, particularly whether there's any chance that the President will return the British citizens to face...
Well, the only thing I know for certain is that these are bad people, and we look forward to working closely with the Blair government to deal with the issue.
There's footage of President Bush speaking about the importance of getting the right information out of individuals he characterised as criminals at Guantanamo, and in many of those shots, Mr. Blair is standing right beside him, silent.
Mozam's father also went to Washington, but did campaign for his son's release.
What I believe led to my release eventually was the embarrassment that I believe this government felt as a result of pressure from my father and other campaign groups who were supporting him. But it seemed to me that for every little thing that the Americans felt they were justified for, the Brits were there sort of behind them, patting them on the back.
Put your hands on your head, reach, shackle shuffle to the left, move, you do the monkey spot and then squat, you shackle shuffle back again. At this exclusive little venue, halal is always on the menu, free toiletries and what is more, and addition of Gideon's Torah. Oh, heck, did I forget to mention, we're busy building an extension where every wish will be respected as you are lethally injected. At the Club X-Ray.
Shackle shuffle to the right.
Chop, chop, chop.
This factory in Birmingham called Hyatt's does a roaring trade selling shackles to Guantanamo Bay.
I mean, yesterday is the 5th anniversary of Guantanamo.
Yeah.
But of course, also this year is the 200th anniversary of the abolition of the slave trade.
Right.
And of course, Hyatt's used to make what were known as nigger covers for the slave trade. You know, if I think today if William Wilberforce was alive, I've got absolutely no doubt he would be standing here today.
Doing the shackle shuffle.
Doing the shackle shuffle, saying that this is outrageous. So it is a shame on this country that we are complicit in torture, we are complicit with these renditions, and we support British industry to profit from the torture of our own residents. That is why we are here today. What we're involved in is the 21st century slave trade, where people like Omar Dagayas, whose brother is here today, were kidnapped and then shipped to Guantanamo and have not been charged with any crime.
Thank you very much. And this is the 5th year that my brother has been held hostage in Guantanamo Bay without any charge or any legal right to defend himself.
Omar Dagayas comes from Libya. His father was tortured and killed by Gaddafi back in 1980. The family thankfully escaped 6 years later, naturally came to Britain, and they became refugees in this country, and we're very grateful to Britain for providing them that sanctuary.
Omar really wanted to be here because he wanted to study law. He had a real strong interest in justice, and he didn't feel that in Libya there was any law to study.
Now, unfortunately, 25 years on, we're seeing history revisited, where Omar is in Guantanamo. The United States and Britain want to send him back to Libya because, in the wake of the Iraq War, Bush and Blair say that Gaddafi became a member of the democratic fold, for goodness sake, as if anyone believes that. The Libyans came to Guantanamo, they looked him in the eye, and one of them said, you know, your problem's not with the Americans, it's with us, and went on to say, we can't do anything to you here in Guantanamo, but when you come back to Libya, I personally am going to kill you. That was a quote from one of the Libyans, and it's so sad for Omar's family.
If they're guilty, they must bring them to the court. If not, release them. They must release them.
The thing he was really disturbed by as well is that the medical staff are actually involved in the torture. And so that they know all the weaknesses that the actual detainees have.
I know colleagues may not necessarily agree with the approach of the United States, but I say that it is understandable that they have taken the action that they have.
But I do not think the United States is being unreasonable.
I have big dream every day, every night, I sitting, heard his voice and everything, and see him in my dream. But when I open my eyes, I find nothing. He's so far from me. In place I can't see him or to talk to him or something.
The prisoners in Guantanamo represent 4%, just 4%, of the American prisoners held in secret detention around the world. 96% we're not even talking about.
What we also see is what the Americans call extraordinary rendition, which is where people are then moved from countries that would not use torture to many countries that do use torture to be interrogated.
Rendair, the ultimate low-cost airline. We've flown thousands of lucky travelers around the world on our luxury Gulfstream jets. Our routes include all the world's torture hotspots. We'll be stopping to refuel at Prestwick and Manchester airports. Even though this is against international law, the British government would turn a blind eye, so there's no delay to your journey. We regret to announce that you won't be able to see the in-flight movie due to a bag over your head. And for your own safety, passengers will be shackled and bound for the entire flight. Once we reach your final destination, we'll swiftly hand you over to your hosts for an activity-filled holiday. Why torture people at home when it's cheaper to do it abroad? Rendair, driving down the cost of dying.
So it's absolutely clear in international law that if you assist torture, facilitate it, even turn a blind eye to it, that state is responsible for collusion and complicity in torture.
For example, in Syria, where they have a device called the German chair, which is designed to stretch a prisoner's spine, in some cases the breaking point, and Uzbekistan, boiling prisoners alive, Egypt, electric shock treatment, Morocco, cutting people up with broken bottles. Now, these are detailed by the United States itself, and yet at the same time, another part of the United States was sending people to these locations. I used the flight logs of CIA planes, and what these flight logs showed was that